touch on the thing that happened to you the other day, it's like as soon as you put out who you're speaking with or who you're talking to, all this noise comes with that. So if you can be as hidden as possible for as long as possible, I think that's going to be benefiting the relationship because you don't have outside pressure. Like you put out that video in the ice bath with that girl.
I commented.
I've never had so many messages about that girl.
Exactly. But then it's like, that's so much noise around that. And obviously you probably dealt with it fine and it was all good. But for someone that's like, shit, it would play on your mind in a way.
Well, when you're documenting your life and the sell point from a follow is they're inspired by your lifestyle, having a gorgeous girl in the videos actually enhances the video in terms of like being inspired by this
like
life. Aspirationally, right? And so it's, yes, I got a shit ton of messages about it, but the video also did really well. Do you know what I mean? And so it's a weird balance. But what is fascinating is people are fucking intrigued.
It did well because all the girls were sending it on to other girls going like, oh, Chris has got a girlfriend. Damn it. So it creates engagement and all of the boys are like, have you got a chick now? Like soft launch, what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, the thing is I put it on my story, but I didn't like show her face or whatever. She was just walking in the ice bath and it was like that. But then that, like, some people was just like, oh, it's just a girl. But then when I included the reel and I was hugging her, like I was put my arms around her ass, that sent everyone. That was like, no, that's couple, that's relationship stuff. I was just keeping her warm. It was cold in there, you know?
Yeah. But it is funny though, man. It's like, how much of your life do you want to put online before it goes past that point of, am I doing this for the engagement? And how much, it's like the whole Truman Show thing, where it's like, when does your life become the show? And when is it just your life? And that's the balancing act.
It's like what you were talking about the other day, and you posted something about it, Chris, by posting all of these incredible moments about your day. Does it take away from actually getting to enjoy those moments? It's such a, like, the content creator world's so interesting, especially when people are filming day in the lives. Like I did something last week with the Butterfly Foundation, which is like a foundation around body image, and it was with Instagram as well. And we sat at this round table and just had this like real open discussion about like, do you think any of the content that you've put out would be seen as detrimental to somebody else? And then it's like this argument, it's like, why do I have to filter what I want to put out to protect someone else's feelings? Because I know there's 9 people who get really inspired by it, but one person goes, oh, you posting you skinny makes me feel uncomfortable. It's like, where do you draw that line?
Yeah. Well, that's that whole thing. The video was point of view. You document all of the highlights of your life, but by doing so, you strip away the presence from the highlights of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, you take away from it. You take a piece of that moment and give it to everyone else, and you lose that.
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword because you do that, yes, and yes, when there's something amazing, my instant reaction is I need to film this, and yes, that is shit, unfortunately. But then I get to make these amazing videos and relive those moments. So I think it's the presence is stripped away, but the moments are less fleeting.
I think it's doing intentionally. Like I feel like having moments of recording, like how many times do you see somebody at a music festival with their phone out the whole time? And it's like ridiculous. You didn't actually enjoy any of it. You just filmed the whole thing. And then they're just in your camera roll and you never look back at them again. Like when was the last time you went through?
Yes.
You know, when was the last time you went back through like the 30 videos at a festival that you're like, I got to film all this, and it's like you put up one story and then like that's it.
Yeah, be more. You know when your phone goes flat at a festival, and it's actually the best thing.
Yeah.
Because you can't find anyone, you don't care about anyone. You're like, okay, I'm free now. I can just go do what I want.
That's so good. Like periodic filming. Like, okay, I'm just going to get my camera out, quickly film this and document it, and then it's in my pocket for the rest of the night.
Intention. It's like doing anything without intention behind it. You can just get so lost in it and like not switch back off from it. It's like, okay, where's the next filming moment? It's like, well, no, I'm going to quickly get a shot so I have a memory of this. So I can maybe show it to my social media. But then actually enjoying the moment too with the people who you're there with. Because how many times do you see people go to an event with all these people, but then they're just interested in filming it to show everyone else? It's like, are the people you're with not important enough to actually get your presence? That's something I've learned so much from my partner, who you both know a lot about. Like actually being there with people is different to hanging out with people, like, and it's just fleeting so much. That's why I love doing podcasts, and that's why this episode that we're doing right now is going to be fun to actually like phones away, just chat about stuff without distractions. Like whenever we're doing stuff, there's usually something exciting going on.
Yeah, and the thing, like you said there, would you do the thing you're doing if you couldn't take a photo to show people you're doing it?
Mm.
And I think a big thing now when you see people that achieve things, they're not achieving it for themselves. They're achieving it for the like accolades that people give them for doing it. It's like, would you go, and it's so hard because like you say, in doing something hard, you inspire other people to also do something hard. But are you just doing it for that reason? Like, go run a marathon and don't post about it.
Go run 100K.
Yeah, don't run 100. That's what I mean. It's like, obviously,
I'm feeling very triggered here.
but you know what I mean. Like,
absolutely,
I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You would want to inspire people.
Even the running, like my thing. Literally, I don't like doing long runs. Like when I do like a 20K run, the thing is, at least I can make a video out of it. Simply put, like
but
now
it's when you look at people that do these videos that go viral and they go and give people money and they're like the reaction of the people being so happy, and I'm like, that's great, that's a net positive. But it's also, I think the thing I came up with is like, you've got to be a good person 24/7. You can't just be a good person that goes and gives someone $1,000 on the street and then goes home and is a dick to his wife. But that's the thing. It's like, I think you're being a good person all the time, but I think some of these videos, you're only nice on camera, and that's the defining factor, is like whether you are a good person or not.
I think you can't strip away their, like, you can't say just because they're posting it online, they're not a good person offline. I reckon just because they're posting it online doesn't mean that's the only time they are being nice, but you can't help but think, right?
I just looked at that for myself, because I know sometimes I'd post about doing nice things for people, and I'm like, oh, is that just like you kind of pumping your own ego up? But then you're like, no, I'm a good person outside of that as well. So that's
no
how
one knows that though.
Well, not no one knows that. I guess the people close to you and yourself, and really at the end of the day, if you can look yourself in the mirror and go, oh no, I'm a good person 24/7, or at least the large majority of the time, it's okay. But if you're just posting you doing nice stuff and then you're angry and you're a dick to everyone else, it's like,
doesn't match up.
Doesn't
not
match
very
up.
authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, those videos are interesting because they get such hate and such love, and it's like, if it's inspiring people to go out and do something a bit kinder and be a bit more selfless and help somebody out, great. But as you said, if it's just doing it for the likes and clicks, which you'll never know, so it's like, is it a net positive or a net negative? It's a very tough one.
You almost like do half on camera, half off camera.
I reckon it's a balance between self-confidence and self-esteem, and recognizing that the self-confidence is how people view you and self-esteem is how you view you. And if you're posting all of this stuff online, you give off this image that you're so confident, but it's like, no, people are perceiving you as confident, but your self-esteem is actually shot in the foot and it's plummeting.
Okay, I'm going to read a quote that goes with that. The first one, we'll throw one out there. It just says, be more concerned with your character than your oh my God, I can't talk.
Let's try again.
I need a drink of water before I do that.
You do that. You keep chatting. I'll chat. I think this is like really interesting where we're going with this, because it's going to take us to where we wanted to go a little bit in this chat on, for one, imposter syndrome, but for two, getting cancelled. Like, if you're not genuine, and this is obviously somewhat gloating saying that I'm genuine, which at times, like, you know, we're good friends. We see each other outside of behind microphones and stuff and spend a lot of time. And I'd like to say that both of you are very good humans. I did a post about literally you, Dean, letting me use a studio in here to shoot a bunch of stuff last minute and helping me out. Same thing every time I have an event, you come and support Chris. Like, I feel like we show up even when the cameras aren't there, which is great. But then going off cancel culture, we're talking about Jay Shetty, because there's someone that I'm sure all three of us have sort of looked up to and appreciated his work. Where I'm going with this is, if you're inauthentic, far out, you must be living with like this anxiety of getting caught out always. Like, fuck, it can't be nice to deal with.
Well, it's kind of like living in a lie. Like, and this is what someone told me. They're like, if you're a liar, you live in a different reality, because you're creating a reality that doesn't exist. So if you're telling your partner, oh, this happened and that happened, you're just making this complete false reality that you now have to live in. And then you're constantly waiting like, well, I'm living in a false reality where things aren't actually real because I've made it all up. when's it going to come undone? So you're constantly on edge, or you're constantly, oh, I can't say that, or I can't say this because that will like undo it all. So then the stress must be in your body all the time.
I've got such a great story about that happened to me. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we all tell little white lies and things here, and it's something that I'm like trying to get better at, but I had such an incredible first-hand experience of this that because I don't lie that much, I didn't even have a radar to pick up that somebody was lying to me. And I'll give you this example. So I'm not going to mention a name because I don't want to. But anyway, I got this reply to one of my stories the other day from this running store that sponsors me, and from this guy who I was going to have on who worked there. And it was real weird, and he's from another country, so I thought it might have been a language barrier, saying like mental healthy guy. What did it say? Like mental health guy. Young, gay, like using all these derogatory terms, and then said something along the lines of like, these are the sort of people we hate. And then he said, asked me to come on his podcast, got him sponsored by the store, and then he disappeared. And I thought it was like a language barrier of him kind of upfront to me being like, ask me to come on your pod and don't even do it. But then I like went back and forth. I responded going like, hey mate, like I'm still super keen to have you on the pod. It's just been like a real busy month, like super keen, like, but now I'm kind of second guessing, like, are you trying to like have a go at me? And then I showed it to Carol, and she's like, no, what's happened here? He's forwarded your story to someone, but accidentally sent it to you. So he sent that story, the way it's worded, it wasn't a language barrier, it was a first to third person barrier of him sending it to a group chat going, this fucking guy says he's going to come on I'll have him on my podcast, and like says he's this guy and that guy, and he was trying to send it to someone else, but he sent it to me, and I didn't realize. So we kind of back and forth, and he tried to like catch him, like unwind the lie, like, oh fuck bro, like I'd never do that, like you're the, like didn't even say I'd never do that, like, oh language, I can't believe it made it out like I said that. And then I realized, so I just responded like, I see what happened here. And Carol's like, don't even feed him, he'll just keep lying to you. And then he did. He was like, oh yeah, bloody translate, I just put it in translate and saw like what it actually said, like, oh I'd never say that. And I was like,
just digging a hole deeper though. Yeah,
it was just digging a hole deeper, and I was just like, I just left it. But that's just like this idea of when you're living in this liars, I guess, mentality and reality, you just keep digging yourself to like make that reality seem true to yourself. Like in his head, he's probably going like, oh, like, yeah, it was a bit of a, like, you know, like telling himself that, but it was like, now I actually saw it properly. I'm like, that's what actually happened there. And I just had no, you know, I took it on I took responsibility myself and went like, oh, maybe I didn't write back to him and follow him up for the podcast, and tried to take blame, because that's what I feel like, you know, a good person does, is look for the responsibility in a situation that's on their own part. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I probably did deserve to be a bit hurt, but say it to me. Don't send it in a group chat to other people saying this is the kind of guy we hate, and then try and backtrack and say like, no, I love you. It's like,
that's ridiculous.
Because most of the time when like you are in an argument, or like do have feelings about a friend or someone like that, you go tell everyone else besides the person that actually should hear it. The amount of times I feel like I can be like a shoulder to someone, and they'll be like, oh, this person did that and this, and I just wish they were more like that. It's like, go tell them.
Yeah.
Go tell them.
Hard.
It's hard, but it's like, you're going to get an answer.
A good friend is the one who will actually call you out on your shit. Like, if someone just like lets you continue doing something that's not good for your own health, for your own well-being, for your own future, then they're not that good of a friend.
It's hard though, man, because sometimes I know in a relationship sense, I saw my mate going down a road that I didn't think was good. No one thought it was good. People in our friendship group had talked about how toxic this relationship was. And I was like, I've got to say something, because I really respect this dude. I think he's a great guy. So I was like, hey, I don't think this is... And as well, the girl actually hit on me at a party that we were at when she was really fucked up. And she's like, oh, if I wasn't with him, I'd be with you. And I was like, bro, like imagine if your girlfriend went and said that to one of your mates. And I was like, I didn't want to say that to him though, but I was like, I don't think it's good, man. I think you don't seem happy. You seem stressed. And anyway, he threw it back at me and was pretty much like, look at how your relationships are going. Like you don't have any like, and I was like, okay, man, all good. And I just walked away from it. But I was like, I felt good that I told him what I thought. And then eventually a few months later, it imploded and ended and turned to shit. And then he even said to me, he's like, oh man, that was so toxic. Well, I'm like, yeah, like I tried to try to like,
and
push
then you
that.
like tell them the truth down the line, like, yeah, she actually like did hit on me this one time, and then they're like, fuck, why didn't you tell me back then? And it's like so hard where you draw the line because you're so in it.
Yeah.
It's like you're so blinded, especially when it comes to love. And like I listen to your guys' recent conversation. It's like
people need to learn from themselves.
If you truly care for, and this is the thing it's a double-edged sword again. It's got me in shit, but it's also kept me true to myself. Is I'm brutally honest with my thoughts to the people that I care about. Like it's the people that I care about that I want to win. Like as the tide rises, I want all the boats to rise too. It's like if I see something that's not at a standard that's high enough, I'll say it. It's like I was in another podcast studio, filming someone else's podcast. And the studio is great, but they have these really shitty mics, and the way it was all lined out was all shit. And I was just like, to be honest, I wouldn't book your studio because your mics are not very good and it's going to affect my clips and it won't look like the best people in the world doing it. So I wouldn't book the studio. I just told him because I want him to level up and I want him to succeed. And that kind of sometimes it can be interpreted wrong, but it's like all I want is everyone to be doing really well. I just want to quickly play this video that I put up as you were saying that. It's like, does your friend, do they really care? And like, who is the right friend? Like, who's the good guy? And let's see if this works.
That always tells
Here we go.
you the truth, that never beats around the bush, never walks on eggshells, that hurts your feelings sometimes. He's not the asshole. All your other friends that sit idly by while you destroy yourself and tell you that you're just fine the way you are, they're the assholes. The best friends you can have in the world are the ones that don't care what you want to hear. They only tell you what you need to hear, and they'll keep it 100% real always. The friends that you hate the most in the short term are going to be the ones that you love the most in the long term because they have your best interests in mind. They want to see you fulfill your potential and be what they know you can be. That one friend.
Yeah, it's the delivery though, man. Like you were saying, it's how you deliver that to someone, because it was funny, even like the girls that were in recording a podcast talking about like how to go down on a girl and how to give head to a guy and that. And they were talking about like, would you want the proper feedback or would you just want to fake an orgasm? I'm like, okay, so you fake an orgasm. The guy's like, oh, I'm killing it. I'm the man. And then he's going to keep doing something that's not that good because this person's lied to them to save their feelings in the moment, but just fuck them for the rest of their sexual life, really.
You know what I think the thing is with that though, is I hate people that say there's a problem with you, talk shit, but don't give any solution.
Yeah.
So they just say, oh, that's shit standard. I didn't say to him, oh, no, I don't like the mics, I'm not going to book with you. And then I left it at that. I said, to be honest, man, like I probably wouldn't book with you because of the lights, but because of the mics. Like have you ever thought about getting different mics? He's like, yeah, I definitely have. And I was like, yeah, well, the best ones, the one that Joe Rogan actually uses, they're half price on Amazon right now. Pulled up the listing and showed it to him. I was like, they're down from $1,000 to $440 each. Like if I were you, like that'd be a really good investment to get 3 of those. I would book your studio.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
I was like, solution. It's like, okay, the best people in the world are doing this. It's half price. I think it's a good investment for your studio. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And I think that comes back to, and I learned this at a retreat I was at last week, which is so good, the fine line between criticism and critiquing. And we do it with our own internal voice around our own life. Like we criticize ourselves rather than critique ourselves, or we criticize people rather than critique them. And it's like criticism is a net negative. No one's benefiting. It's just making someone feel shit. Whereas critiquing is giving them some, not even solutions, but some ideas or some other ways to do it without maybe hurting the ego as much. And that just like, when I learned that at this retreat the other day, I was like, I talk about it a bit in this idea of like constructive and destructive criticism, which is another way to look at it. There's like criticism, which is just bringing people down, and then there's constructive. But I like that idea of the subtlety of criticism and critiquing. It's like critiquing, you can see a move forward from it. You can see a bit, like, you know, you can get better from it. Whereas criticism is just a net negative, bringing you down. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's, for me, like I'm really genuine when I'm saying it. Like I genuinely want to help them, and it comes from a place in my heart where there's no malicious intent at all. I'm really trying to help them, and that's why the framing of it, as you said, and the delivery is really important. It's not like, again, didn't leave it at that. I was like, but dude, the studio is sick. Like, if you had a couple of little tweaks, I reckon this could be the best studio I've ever seen. Like, giving him that push, and like, it's great.
You got to have a couple positives to go with the negative.
Yeah, it's a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also as a person, like knowing as a skill to be able to receive criticism, because a lot of people are like, it's a kind of people take it as an attack on themselves or their ego. I'm like, again, you're trying to help, but if you can't actually take on board critiquing or criticism, like how do you grow? How do you change?
It's like the best thing I learned for that was asking yourself a little question in your head when someone's criticizing you and you really want to react and try and come up with an excuse. Just go, where's the truth in what they're saying? They're saying it for a reason. They've made this remark to me because of either something I've done or something they've heard I've done, or, you know, there's a reason why they're criticizing me. Is there truth in it? I guess is the first question. But like, where's the truth in it? They look at me like that because of this thing that I did. Maybe they don't know me that well. I can maybe explain myself a bit better. But then sometimes you're like, actually, you know what? I have been late every day this week, and it's probably because I didn't put my alarm on early enough. Instead of being like, oh, it's traffic, it was this. I was like, well, where's the truth in what they're saying? You know what? Yeah, there is some things that I can improve from that, and then you can grow through it rather than, you know, just be triggered by it.
Because I guess it's like you see people enable other people, like parents that are enabling to the kids. It's like, yep, that's fine, sweetie. Yep, that's fine. Keep doing that. Keep smashing the windows. Keep doing that. That's fine. And then you get the parents that are quite harsh and they're like, no, this is what you need to do. And like you said, you're going to hate that person at that point in your life. But then when you grow up and actually look back and go, oh, I needed that to be the person I am now. But it's being consciously aware of that when you do it.
I want you to read that quote you're about to say.
Get another try at it?
Another try at it.
So it says, be concerned with your character, more concerned with your character than your oh my God, what am I?
I can try one more time from the top.
You got it.
Reputation is what I'm trying to say. Be more concerned with your character than your reputation.
Reputation.
Why can't I say reputation?
Reputation.
Oh, fuck this one. This is bad.
No, you good.
Reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are.
Character is what you really are. Reputation is what you think you are.
Yeah.
What you do when no one's looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I reckon really behind closed doors is like the conversations that you're having with yourself and the way when you look, like what looks back at you in the mirror is so powerful. As we're talking about that self-esteem is how you're looking at yourself. Whereas like that self-confidence is actually, I think, how people are viewing you and what your picture is online or in the public eye.
What you really think of yourself compared to the way you show people the way you think yourself. Like, there's a lot of people doing that, and I'm sure you guys are the same of like being guilty of it. And it's because we post our highlight reels on social media. It's like we want to post the best parts of our life. So I think, just being a bit more aware of, okay, what's actually going on is so important.
So I post a thing every like couple of weeks where it's like life's good part whatever, and it shows all the good bits of my life. And I had this thing where I'm like, I'm going to post a life's not always good, and then
tax bill, this bill.
Yeah, just post all the shit that goes on, because it's like you don't want to put that out there, but it's also nice to realize that people are all struggling or have hardship happen to them, even no matter where they are in life. And I was going to ask you, Chris, because you showed me that you put up this video and you were going to put it on your normal account, but you didn't do it because it was you saying like, oh, everything's going well, but I'm actually not that happy at the moment. But from the outside, it looks amazing. But you said you didn't want to post it on your normal feed because, well, I only know, you know why, but then you posted it on a completely separate feed that was just random, and you still got a heap of feedback from that, but it was almost like you were posting it with a mask, because it was like, oh, I'm posting it, but no one really knows this page or no one's seen it. So where was the headspace with that?
Yeah, well, I was going through a shit time. I've been having really challenging mornings and nights, like straight out of bed, anxiety, straight before bed, anxiety. And it's not been fun. And yeah, one morning I got out of the ice bath and I was still just feeling like shit, and I had all this work to do, and I was like, I'm just going to journal. And I journaled instead, and that was the video. I basically read the journal, and I was very scared of posting it on my personal page because, it's like the personal page is a mask of how well life is actually going, and you receive hundreds of messages every week about how amazing your life may be. but then like how you're actually feeling inside and the certain challenges that you're having are like actually quite challenging. And I got scared and I was like, I need to put this out to the world. And if whoever comes across it, whoever sees it, they've seen it for a reason. And they did it. And I literally created a new TikTok page called Thinking, never mind.
Yeah, so you don't even, do you even want to share it? That's the thing. It's like,
I just created a new TikTok page, random name, and literally within seconds of the page being created, I just uploaded the video, and the caption was, I wonder if anyone will see this. And yeah, this random page with one video, it got like 15,000 views and gained like 500 followers on a random page, like all these comments and all this stuff.
But see, the thing is, it's like people are still seeing you.
Yeah.
This whole idea, and it's this weird thing that happens where once you meet people and know them on a deeper level, you get more concerned with how they see you. But what's the difference between a stranger seeing you and someone that you've met and interacted with?
Yeah, well, when people follow you online, they feel like they know you as well. And that's the thing, is like when you run into a fan on the street, it can be weird at times because they feel like they know you and they talk about all the stuff that you've been doing and you've never seen this person in your life. And it's the same with the TikTok. It's like in the last 6 months of last year, I got 150 million views on TikTok, right? And that's just on my pages. If you go scroll on TikTok, you're going to see hundreds of videos of people just reposting my stuff, zooming in with more views than the original. And so you have all these people that see your face. They know you maybe helped them. But then like when they actually see you in person, it's like a completely different like experience.
Yeah, it's so funny when everything's on social media. Like I'm the same, like I post every single day the 3 things I'm grateful for. So if people want to follow my account closely, they can know pretty much what I do every single day of my life. And like I forget about it sometimes that people have that much of an insight, and then you like, meet people out and about and can almost like recount what you've done, and you're like, oh yeah, I did do that. But then don't actually know you beyond that, don't know the struggles, they just know the highlights. So it's like, oh, they think this is a great life. Like at this retreat I went to recently, I was speaking to the coach at the retreat, who's someone I really look up to, and I had her on my podcast, and just like learning people's stories from not start to finish, but throughout their life, which is how you guys have both been on my podcast. How I always do my episodes is try and take people into chronological, and you go, they've dealt with like a bunch of shit too. They've gone through a bunch of stuff as well. It's not just the positive things. It's like an actual conversation. That's why podcasting and having conversations like this is so nice, that people will start to feel like they know you even more again, because you get to listen to more than just a 15-second or a 1-minute clip on TikTok or Instagram. I feel like podcasting like adds that extra layer where if people listen to a lot of your content, they really feel like they know you.
Yeah, and there's some of the encounters that I have in person quite literally enable me to keep posting content, because it can get tough sometimes. But an example I just want to say, tell a quick story. I was with that ice bath girl. I think it might have literally been that day that I saw you were walking and you were like, hey, it's ice bath girl. And anyway, we're watching sunrise down in Burleigh, and we're on the hill. And I was just standing on this rock, like at the hill. Anyway, I was standing on this rock, and I turn around and just look back. And on the hill, on the grass, probably 5 meters behind me, was this lady. She was probably, I don't know, maybe 40 or late 30s or something like this, to guess. And she had a kid, maybe like 6 years old, was holding her kid. And I look back, and she just says, mate, you've saved my life on multiple occasions. First thing she said to me. Literally first thing, not even a hello. I looked back for like a few seconds and we locked eyes. So she was looking at me and she's like, mate, you've saved my life on multiple occasions. And my heart just like sunk. I was like, holy shit. And keeping in mind, like I'm having these mornings where I'm not feeling good. And then I get that come to me, and found out that she's gone through a hectic divorce and a really bad another breakup, and she's struggling. She's been like, I have to look after the kid. And she said that I was her comfort person. She looked forward to every single day when I would post a video. and like you hear that and you go, there's all these numbers on a screen. We said this 10,000, 20,000 followers for the month, all of these views, all these numbers just slowly ticking away. But all it takes, like that's so numbing, all it takes is that one thing, that one encounter. For 5 minutes, I went and gave her a hug, spoke to her for a little bit. And meanwhile, Ice Bath Girl's going like, what the hell is happening right now? Yeah. But like you put that into perspective and you go, holy shit, that's what matters, the impact. Like that's true impact. She's shaking there, like looking at me, she can't believe it's in real life. And she's holding her son. And you could look at her eyes and know that she's been through shit, like she's battling. And you just go, fuck, mate, like put your little problems into perspective and keep providing value and keep putting your message out there.
Yeah, because you just never know who it's going to help.
And that's happened multiple times. You know, in Bondi, I was walking out of yoga with a friend as well, this girl, and we were like, oh, let's go get a drink at this random bar. And we walked up and the manager of the bar walked up and he just was stunned. He stood at me, gave me a big hug, and he's like, thank you for being you. And again, it's every time one of these happens, I'm in this really weird kind of like lull or like low. And these things just come in and just pull me back up.
Yeah, they're kind of why behind all of it. Because like I was talking to you the other day and you go through comment sections and it's like equal negatives, equal positives. And we always focus more heavily on the negatives because I feel like that's just human nature. But then you get a person in real life come up and go, oh, you've actually helped me a lot, like a lot. And just like I've never gone up to someone and been like, you've helped me a lot. So to have that thing where you like, I've been inspired by people and looked up, but I've never actually gone up and said, I was in a really dark place. Thank you. Like you've pulled
probably
me out.
1 in every 30 people that you've actually helped would that see you that would have the balls to do that.
Exactly. So there's still a hand, like heaps of people out there that you have helped, but they still might not feel like the courage to come up and go, hey, you've actually really...
They'll send you a massive paragraph message, but...
And it doesn't feel as real.
It doesn't feel as real because you get so many of them, but that one person can just change the game for things. I just was like, holy shit, I've stopped posting all these relationship content, but like that impact that they happen to make on these people is so insane. But and them starting to question like, am I going on down the wrong path? Like, do I need to go back? Like, you know?
Why were you scared to post that video on your normal account?
I think there's a level of like feeling like what I'm posting is not fake, but I just sometimes can feel like a fraud.
How so?
Just like sometimes I just feel like what people see is like they couldn't live a day in my shoes, but then they look at it and go, I'm so inspired to be you. And that feeling is the feeling that only I have to deal with from my social media. And
do you think putting out that kind of vulnerable self at the same time would help people connect with you deeper? Because they probably, well, we all don't have a perfect life. So seeing someone that has a perfect life and then they come out and go, actually, I'm fucking struggling right now for X, Y, Z. You go, oh, he struggles, I struggle. And I feel like that's when I found in my life and when I've been more vulnerable and been more honest, then people go, oh shit, like kind of like one of us kind of thing.
Humanizes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I do try and be honest a lot. I post a lot of raw, authentic content. But sometimes like did I play that video for you?
Which one?
The one that I posted on that random TikTok.
Yeah, play it.
Like it's pretty vulnerable.
Do you find like even here, because it's like when you do it on a podcast, do you feel like because it's like these different levels of people that actually like you as a person? It's like if you see it on TikTok, you could be a random fucking person and you could just throw hate or whatever that may be at that. But it's like here you're happy to put on a podcast, but if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably
way more depth. I tell my friends my feelings, and I told you.
Yeah,
I tell people that I actually care about.
That's what I mean. And the podcast is like that extra layer.
And that's why, like, if we're 30 minutes into a podcast, it's like the people that are listening to this are a bit more engaged.
Yeah, they want.
I don't really feel like I don't need a playlist, but it's just to put it in context of like how how I was feeling in the moment is like this level of like the first line is I've been struggling recently, you know, and
do you find as well, because if you put it out there and you go, people start going, oh, you're struggling, look at your life, look what you get to do, and it's this whole idea of seeing someone here and then they can't feel that way. Just because like your life's amazing, and you see all these really rich people, like Robin Williams is a perfect example of like from the outside happiest man alive, and then he committed suicide. So it's like he almost probably felt like he couldn't be honest to people about how he felt, because they'd be like, you're the happiest man alive, look what you get to do, you're in movies, everyone loves you, all this stuff. And then because of that, they kind of create this image. Because I had a friend as well, and he would just not go, he would just literally go MIA and not come to events, and be like, yeah, do you want to come to this? Like, yeah, all good. And then he wouldn't come. And it was like pissing me off, because I'm like, dude, why do you just not keep showing up? And I thought he was just doing it out of like laziness. And I sat down with him. He's like, look, man, I just feel like, because I carry myself this, he's like, he's really excited, happy, out there kind of guy. And he's built this image for himself that he's got to always be that person. So then when he didn't feel like he could live up to that person, he would just hide. And he wouldn't tell anyone, he'd just disappear. And it was like, oh, you're not being lazy or just inconsiderate. You're actually just scared to not be able to show up for this image that you've created, that realistically no one cares if you're that or you're quiet. It's like, but you feel like, okay, I've got to be this person. And I guess that's probably part of the reason where you've created this image of who you are. And then if you put out any kind of content that isn't that, you feel like you're kind of letting people down. I
reckon the thing is, and this is what I said to you, is like everything's going so well as well. Like the only thing I'm struggling with is this, like, sometimes there's this level of like anxiety, and I don't really know where it's stemming from. This is what I was telling you about. I'm going on a retreat literally in a couple of weeks. I'm really excited just to have 6 days of like proper unpacking all of this and getting really clear. But it's like things going well. There's not many things that are going wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't know where it's coming from. And so for me, it's like the lifestyle is fucking amazing. What I'm documenting is the life I'm living. But there is these little thoughts, and I get these little things.
And sometimes I feel like if it's the life that you've wanted for a long time, like what's a happiness equation? I think it's someone worked it out. Mo Gawdat's a great guy to look up. He has a book called, I think, The Happiness Equation, but I think it's something like your happiness is your expectation minus your reality. And once we have this crazy opportunities ahead of us, our expectation and our opportunity becomes so large that if we're not getting there as fast as we'd hoped, it's like, oh, I want my podcast to be like growing quicker than it is. It's doing well, but they could have gone a little bit more viral. Like there's always like, oh, why didn't that one do well? So I think sometimes when you're growing and you're living this life that you've always dreamed of, you kind of get there and go, oh, I thought this was just going to be like the best ever. But it's like, no, you're still living in the same physiology, in the same skin, in the same body, going through all the exact same things, just in a few different situations, I guess. And quite often we're like, maybe it isn't as good as I was hoping it was going to be when I get here. It's still great, but that anxiety of like, is this it? Is this like what I was trying to strive for?
Yeah, I love that expectation reality, because if your expectation's here and your reality's here, the gap between that's disappointment.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny because it's like I'm nowhere near where I've dreamed to be. I'm still got so many big things I'm striving towards. It's not like I've hit like a destination and I'm like, oh, is this all it is? I just think there's a couple little hurdles in the road. And full transparency here, something that's really been planned. I didn't know if I was going to bring it up today, but I'm going to. There's been a thing that's been playing on my mind a lot recently, which has been quite challenging, is friends. And what I've found in my life is I've really struggled to keep friends.
Do you feel like that's because you move around so much?
Even when I'm staying in the same spot, I really struggle to keep. Sorry,
I do that pretty often too.
But it's been playing on me because, like, I like to think that I'm so genuine, honest, like fun to be around, caring, like, and I still somehow can't seem to hold on to friends.
Do you find it self-sabotaging in a way?
I don't think so, because I'm never running away from the friends a lot of the time. either.
I think it's just learning you're on your journey and not having comparison, because I see like people who are like best friends with their mates from school, and I'm like, I don't have a single friend from school. I don't really have many friends from like, I mean, I definitely do from like within the last 5 years, but I'm someone as well who I feel like I like not recycle through friends, it's a very bad way to put it, but I'm constantly evolving and changing towards somewhere that I want to be. So why do I expect that the people I'm friends with at this stage are going to evolve and be still like next to me in that journey? It's like, I love that there's a great meme where it's like a caterpillar and a butterfly next to each other, and the caterpillar says to the butterfly like, you've changed, and the butterfly's like, we're meant to. Yeah. And it's like, once you can put out of your mind that our friends are expected to not grow at the same pace but grow in the same direction, I think is the more important thing. Like, we're all, you know, our interests change, we get opportunities that other friends don't have, we meet new people that we find align, and that's what I've found moving to the Gold Coast has been a massive one for me. Oh, I gotta move, my legs are a bit sore. Moving to the Gold Coast, like, everyone would ask me like, oh, would you move back to Sydney? And I'm like, nothing against my friends in Sydney and the people I grew up with, but I just feel like I've found like my community since I've been here, with people who see the world through a similar lens rather than just same geographical location or just, you know, same career choice. Like, we kind of end up with friends so often because of like our location or because of our interests, but it's our interests at the time, and our interests continually evolve. So I think it's like not getting too harsh on yourself, because then like it sounded like, and watching you say that, it's almost like you're reflecting going like, is it me? Am I the denominator?
100%. But the thing is I'm not feeling like how you're explaining we grow apart in different ways. It's like I still look at some of those friends and go like, oh, I still consider it, because I'm very critical and auditing my circle and making sure that the people around me are inspiring me. But even the ones that are inspiring me are still drifting away a little bit. And like it makes me question sometimes about like how am I, like what impression, because if it's happening time and time again, and I don't know the answer, like I don't know, there's not like been a catalyst of an event that's happened that's pushed me away. It's just like slowly like done this.
It's just things that happen. I listened to your guys' podcast that you did. I think it was on Chris's, maybe with Dean, or Dean's with Chris. Anyway, did you do one? Have you done both? Okay, then it was your one with Dean, and you said, I reckon I'd have a lot of people at my funeral, but not that many at my Bucks party. And that hit me. I was like, I reckon too, I'd probably have heaps of people at my funeral, but I mean, I'd pull together a pretty sick Bucks party, I reckon.
But you got the whole concept of...
But yeah, the concept of like there's... And same thing, like so many of my friends are like, go to like so many weddings. I don't get invited to like... I mean, my friendship group seems to like get younger as I get older, just so I like avoid like life responsibilities. But I've only ever been to one wedding, my sister's wedding and my auntie's wedding, and never like any mates. Not to say that I don't have good mates, but I'm a big part of people's lives for like a chapter, and then I feel like I kind of am just friends with them without being like close mates. You can get a similar thing.
It's fascinating. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I always like to look within with everything, because I found every time I do that, that's where the most amount of growth comes. But sometimes like random shit happens with people that we had a great bond, great connection, and like, but it gets to the point where when something happens and I look and I go like, I try and look within, but then at the same time I go, that's a flat out lie, whoever's told you that, like this, like that's just not me, and something happens, so I just start laughing it off instead. Like I read something, I got a message randomly from a friend just before I moved to the Gold Coast, and she was great, like took me on this like really cool date, like looked over all the, it was so cool, right? And then anyway, we caught up for the like basically I called her yesterday and she didn't answer, but then she sent me a voice note saying it's great to hear from you, rada. And then I said I was just checking in on you, and then she said, it was suggested to me a few weeks ago the reason you hung out was because you didn't want to be at your apartment. Makes sense, but with all due respect, that's not how I do friendships. Like, and I was like, what? And I said, that's an interesting suggestion. What fairy told you that? Pretty hectic thought to think, I can't lie. And then she's like, I don't want to throw people under the bus or stir anything. It is what it is. Glad you're happy on the GC. And then this is the thing. Actually, I'm not even going to read that part. But anyway, like, and then it just went on and on. And I'm like, what even got, like, for me, I'm hanging out with you because I really enjoy your company and you're great. Like, if I didn't like hanging out with you, I would be alone. I love being alone. Like, I would much prefer to just be alone than hang out with someone I don't want to hang out with. I was hanging out with you. I was like, and I remember every time I was with you, it was so present. Like, I really enjoyed your company. Didn't even have my phone near me. Lost track of time to speak deep chats for 5 hours. And like, then that comes and it's like, has someone said something to her about me and now she's questioning why I even hung out with her in the first place?
But it comes back, man. If you have to explain who you are to someone and they don't see it, then it's like it's wasted effort.
100%. That's why I started laughing.
Their assumptions, yeah.
I was laughing because it was funny. I was like listening to a great song. I was driving home and then I just kept laughing. I was like, what's going on here? But I just question it because I go like, I can't help but look within because I go like, it's not the first time either. Like there's like of people that are people not saying that to me, but just like questioning my character. Yeah.
But I think it comes back to if you know yourself where you're at, and it's like obviously look within and go, okay, did I do something? Did I say something? And if you kind of look and go, oh, well, I was me. It's like that should be kind of the long and short of it. But it's the whole friend thing, man. It's tricky, hey, because
we've spoken about it in a little bit too.
Well, I know I've definitely got an attachment issue in terms of not only relationships but also friendships, where it's like I feel like I get so like, for example, I went to Falls by myself and I was there for 4 days, and I remember I just kept meeting people, and a thing that would trigger me was when they'd say, oh, what are we doing? And I would fully just like go panic stations and go, oh, sick, yeah, cool, I'm gonna go, and then I'd fully just bail on these different groups of people, and I just kept meeting new people. But it's like, for some reason I have this attachment, like we means like slowing down, or we means like doing trying to help make other people happy. Like suddenly there's an expectation on what are we doing, and that would always like terrify me. So I'd always, as soon as I'd feel close enough in a group that there was expectation that I need to show up in some way, whether that was big or small, I would smoke bomb. And that's how I've kind of found myself in that situation where like I've got so many friends around the world and everywhere because like I am in that spot, but I'm like so, I guess, worried about committing to a point where they've got this expectation that you need to show up, that I'm like, all right, see you, bye, and then go. So it's like having that balancing of like, and it's not to say that I'm not there for people, but I just, something terrifies me about the word we, because it suddenly changes.
That's an interesting one. I also reckon like having people really close in your circle is one thing, and then having people that you still really care about, but they're just like, and they're still good friends, but they're not as close. Like you're always going to have those really close ones, I feel. And like for me, it's like Sam, my best friend, like that, and Mitch, who's become close really quickly. Like these sort of people is like close. But I also think having really like we talk regularly, but like we're not like hanging out every day and doing things. Like it's like these are really cool friendships as well.
Yeah, I think there's like different roles for different friends. I feel like if you put all of the roles on one friend, then it's just ready for a disaster. I feel like you can get different stuff out of different, not that you get stuff out of people, but yeah, I just feel like a good example of this is like the sort of friends who are still around when you get a girlfriend, and when you stop like drinking and partying, you learn very quickly who are like those friends and who aren't those friends. Like since I have a partner and we don't really go out and do much at night in the sake of partying and socializing, it's like changed our friendship circle to people who I spend time with because I go for a run with them, or we can chat about work because we're inspired by the same stuff and we understand, we all have podcasts, we all are working in the industry of trying to share our stories to help people and continually learn and strive to get better. So I think just understanding friendship roles and not getting let down if that friend doesn't live up to a role that you've like created in your head for them.
Expectation again.
Yeah. Like appreciation for your friend rather than expectation. I love you guys spoke about this idea on your episode recently too, of if you have a friend who does something wrong by not like taking it on, I don't know how to explain it. You guys were talking about if a friend wrongs you and it's like you have every right to be pissed off at them, why not just, you know, forgive them and just be like, you know what, it's not worth my time. Like, for instance, that story I was telling you about just earlier in this podcast of this guy that's called me, like, you know, a loser, the, you know, sort of people we hate, has sent it on to someone. It's like my people pleasing wants to spend time with this guy for him to see that, hey, I'm not that sort of person. You've got a false assumption. But then Carol, my partner, was like, yeah, but people like that, like, you don't need everyone to like you. So it's a bit of an exercise for me to be like, you know what? I don't need this person to like me. I don't need everyone to be my friend. Like, he doesn't know me. He doesn't know anything about me. He's made that assumption just because I didn't get back to him about doing a podcast. It's like, it's a very small thing to judge someone on, but I kind of went off topic. But where I was going with it, because when you guys were saying that, I just had this quote in my head that my dad always said around like forgiveness and apologies. And you guys will love this, going off the conversation that you guys had where it's like, well, you don't really gain anything out of not forgiving someone. You just carry this hate and anger. My dad said this. He's like, my dad's funny. He wakes up in the middle of the night and comes up with quotes. And one he had, he's like, I've been thinking about this one for ages. I've got a good one for you. And I was like, all right, what is it? And he's like, apologies clear the mind, but forgiveness cleanses the soul. And when I heard that, I was like, it's so true. Like, apologizing for something might clear your mind that you're out of the wrong. But when you can actually forgive someone, it's like dropping the weight, taking the weight backpack off with the weight. It's like forgiveness cleanses the soul. I was like, ooh, it's a nice one.
I did a podcast with a psychic and she added to that where she'd forgiven someone and she still felt this feeling. And it wasn't until she forgave herself as well. Because it's like you can forgive the person, but you also need to forgive yourself for even putting yourself in that situation and going through that. Because I think that's powerful. It's like you can say, it's like it's so often someone will do something wrong. And what you said there before about not everyone liking you and being okay with that. Because I think, as you said, as a people pleaser, you're trying to make everyone happy. But then it's like, am I happy?
Yours comes last.
Yeah, and it's like, I got to that point where I was like, you don't have to like me. Sometimes I don't like me. Like, it's fine. And then once you accept that and stop trying to convince people, because it's like that, it's just so draining trying to convince people you are who you say you are. It's like if you live how you are and you do the things you know you should do. And I know in terms of being in a relationship, once you start trying to convince that person that you are who you say you are, it's like, man, it's kind of already done. If they don't see you for you, and they see you as this other thing and you keep trying to convince them, man, like so much wasted energy into nothing. It's like you either see it or you don't. And if you don't, it's like, okay, this isn't for us. And I guess that comes back to friendship as well. It's like, I remember I said a thing and it was funny, like we were talking about friends, like when I moved to the coast up here and like anyone that's obviously moved anywhere, it's like you have this period of like, okay, I've just lost all my old friends. I now have no new friends. And you obviously want to make new friends, but you also don't want to just like jump on the first person you see or the first group you see. You're kind of like, all right, we'll feel it out. And coming up here, we had some mutual friends through like Sam Moore and all that. And like I knew Jace McAlpine and a few other people. And it's like, I knew if I wanted to, I could have like kind of forced the issue to be like, oh, hey man, you want to hang out? You want to do this? But I also think it's like, and I've had people do this to me where they're almost like too keen to be your friend. And it's kind of off-putting. And it's like, you kind of just need to, like, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You roll in the same circles, you hang out, it's a bit more organic and natural. It's like you don't want to just go and force yourself into a friendship group because you don't have other friends. It's like, all right, let's just play this out and see how it goes, like see if it falls into place. And I think I said something and it was funny because I think it was around the time where I met kind of you and Harry and Corey and everyone. But it was like the whole idea, it's like be attractive within yourself. And then it comes back to like the whole make your garden nice. It's like if you're
that when you guys said that last week.
Yeah, it's like if you look after you and do the things you need to do, it's like that's when you attract good stuff. It's not when you're going out to chase people and be like, oh, be my friend, be my friend. It's like not what you have to offer, but if you're just generally just a good person and you're carrying yourself and doing the right things, then all the people that should come into your life do come into your life, and the people that don't. So it's like you're setting it up that it's going to work. So. And I think it's just having the patience as well that you don't need to, like there's going to be a time point from losing your old friends to gaining your new friends when you're going to be alone, and it's accepting that and being okay with that. And I think when you try and rush it, that's probably when you end up with the wrong people in your life.
Yeah, lonely chapter. And it's funny on our conversation where we were speaking about like forgiveness and not forgiveness, like, I think it was on our chat where we were talking about when people reach out to you and they haven't reached out for ages. And do you just let them hang out or let them do what they want? Are they reaching out for the right reasons we were talking about? And I had that conclusion of if they message you and they said, hey man, love what you're doing, I miss you, we should catch up. And I'm like, yeah, that's a cool message. It's a nice one to receive. But if they sent the same message and then you said, thanks man, appreciate it. And then they go, hey, by the way, can I do this or have this? It's like understanding what their intention is for hanging out with you. And I just thought of this quote. I remember it was, don't forget the people who put you in challenging times, who helped you in challenging times, and who left you in challenging times. And when you understand that, you go, holy shit, like the people who helped you in challenging times and the people who did not leave you in challenging times. Because like when I'm not challenged and like when I'm struggling is when I need you to be there for support, to sit in that mud with me every now and then, as Simon Sinek says. But now I don't need you in that time. I'm actually going really well. But now when I'm going really well is when you want me. It's like, don't forget the people who left you in challenging times.
But also the thing with that as well, some people don't know when you're in those challenging times. And this comes back to that video that you didn't share on your profile. But it's like how like you told me about it. Coops obviously knows about it. There'll be people listening to this podcast, but there's like how the people outside of that are going to know. It's like I chatted with the guy that owns Sober, the non-alcoholic beer. And he said like in his life, he was suicidal at points, but no one saw it. And I was like, it's easy to hide behind a smile. And he's like, dude, it's easy to hide behind cocaine. It's like you can hide in all these different ways, whether it's on different TikTok accounts, whether it's through drugs, whether it's through alcohol. So it's like that thing. I agree with you that you want people there for you, but we all do such a good job of hiding how we actually feel. So then it's like to say to someone, and it's a tricky thing. And I agree with you with what you're saying, but I don't know when some of my friends are hurting or when they're in a tough time. So it's like, you weren't there for me. It's like, I didn't even know. Like, I'm so
better.
I 100% agree. And the people, but this like friends is like, I told you about it. Like I tell my friends about that. And they're the ones that matter though. Like I think the one, like being really honest to your friends is really important.
Hard though.
It's fucking hard. But I think as you said, like that level of relief when you forgive someone or whatever, but it's the same as when you get something off your chest.
Yeah.
When you've been feeling a certain way.
I just know, and this comes back to like, obviously not as much now, but I'd always travel, never really be home. And I never wanted to come back into like a friendship circle or whatever. And then someone's like, oh, you weren't there for me. And I'm like, fuck man. It's like, I'm here now. And I had a nan and she would go see her and she'd always make us feel bad about not seeing her enough. So we just,
I don't want to go see him.
I cut her out of my life. She's still alive, but I like, it sounds really harsh saying this, but I will not see her. And like she might die in the next, I don't know, 5-10 years. And I'm just not going to see her. Like she's completely cut out of my life. And it's like,
it's got to be more to it than because she made you feel guilty when you saw her.
It was just, it's just not a caring person, like not a loving person. Like even towards my mum, it was like whatever, but it was just, if the only interactions I remember as a child was her kind of like guilt tripping us and making us feel bad. I didn't feel like any love. And then it just gets to that point, man, where I'm like, I have no harsh feelings against you, but you were just completely not in my life ever again. And it's just like, I've come to terms and I'm fine with that. So it's like, again, it came back to when we were talking about, you don't have to hate someone. And you also, or if you hate or love someone, it doesn't mean they have to be a part of your life. So it's like, I have no harsh feelings towards this woman, but literally I will not see her again till the day she dies. And it's like, and I have literally no harsh feelings, no good feelings. It's like,
is there any weight attached to that?
No.
Because we spoke about that as well. You know how when you're saying, I forgot it was one of the other guys that was in the studio and he was talking about how like he hates his mum.
Yeah.
And you were saying how hectic that is.
Well, he needs to let go of it, man.
100%.
Like that's the thing. I don't hate this lady. It's like she is who she is and she's done what she's done.
Yeah.
And that's like, fine. That's what you wanted, or that's how you carried yourself. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to leave. And it's like with him, she's not even around anymore. Like she's passed away and he's still holding on to this hate. I was like, and his big thing was he's using it as fuel. And he's like, I'm using it as fuel to like motivate me to do better and be better. And I'm like, man, but like that fuel that you've used to a certain point is going to hinge at you at some point. Like it's going to start to affect you. Like carrying around hate for your entire life, especially the person that created you, is not healthy.
You need to find a better fuel.
Yeah.
100%.
It's like the idea of, again, loving someone that has done you so wrong is not for them. They can't feel your hate or your love. It's for you. So I think that's the big thing is like, you do it for you, not for them. Everyone thinks you forgive someone for them. It's like, fuck, you forgive it for yourself.
Yeah. I think forgiveness cleanses the soul. It cleanses yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't need to carry on to this anymore. You watch so many people who are just in that victim mindset and have like 50 different reasons why they feel sorry for themselves. And it's like, it doesn't really matter.
It's being true to yourself as well. Like even, it's funny, the most common feedback I got from our chat was that they loved that we didn't agree on things. They loved that we went back and forth on different things. Like holding true to your thoughts and having the balls to actually voice that and challenge something as opposed to just being a yes man. That was what people loved the most. They were like, I loved it. That was my favorite chat because you guys actually challenge each other.
That's because everyone's too scared to do it now because they can't, you have a different opinion to someone and you become vilified for it. And it's like, we can have differing opinions. That's where like the whole political debate that goes on globally now, from Republican to Democrat, from Labor to Liberal, it's like, you don't have to disagree. If you disagree with one thing about someone, doesn't mean you have to think they're a terrible person. Like Donald Trump's just a great example. Andrew Tate, another example. Like, you can agree with a few of somebody's ideas, but not like think they're a good person, and vice versa. You can disagree with someone's ideas, but be like, you're still a good person. We just have a different view on reality. We have a different view on the world because of the life that we've lived.
The Nazis had some pretty cool outfits.
I
You get what I'm saying? Like,
No, but I mean,
I reckon what it is I've got to see that there's passion in your voice. If you genuinely believe something, by all means, like if you're wearing a mask and you're a puppet, like most of politics, like I don't like you. You're not being authentic. The reason Tate has so much conviction in his voice is because he actually believes it. He genuinely believes it, and there's power in that.
but there's like, but again, like 80% of what he says, great. The 10%, terrible. But like that 80% and hate that 10%. Don't hate the whole 100.
Yeah.
But 10% in your eyes is terrible, right? And it's like it's all perspective on how people are viewing it too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it doesn't mean
100%.
I'm wrong or right.
Exactly
The whole
right.
thing, like what I said with like the whole Nazis having good uniforms, it's like the Nazis were bad people. But like you can take away and say everything that they did was awful and terrible. And you're like, well, the uniforms are pretty good.
It's
and
really,
like their battle formation was done well. It's like, again, you don't agree that what they did was right, but you can take parts out of what they did that were like, okay, well, that was actually not good, but like seen as something that was high quality or something like that.
then also understanding why they did it. Like I studied World War II, and Albert Speer, the architect for Hitler, for some reason was my like key person. Anyway, but it always fascinated me with like World War II. It's like, why did this whole, not even whole country, why did a large group of people think it was okay to do what they did? Is because after World War One, they signed the Palace of Versailles, the Treaty of Versailles, in the Palace of Versailles. I've actually been there; it's pretty cool. Basically saying that Germany had to pay all the reparations for all these other countries, so their country, basically for like the foreseeable future, was going to be living in a massive depression, which a lot of the world was through that time. But then Hitler basically comes in and says like, no, this is bullshit. We're not going to stand for living in, poverty for the next 50 years because we have to repay back for a war that it wasn't even us. It was the generals and the like politicians and everything before us. So let's come together. Like obviously what happened with the Holocaust and all the atrocities is disgusting. But to understand why a lot of the German people got around the idea was because it was the only thing that gave them hope to not live the next generations of their life in a, poverty-stricken country because of the reparations they had to pay. So it's like not agreeing with what someone does, but trying to understand why they do it, I think can bring a bit more empathy and perspective sometimes.
Yeah, see the whole picture. I don't just see the one narrative out of that.
I reckon there's a positive and negative to everything though. And understanding that means you can see good in anything that's happening in the world too. And also with things like Tate and stuff, it's a pendulum swing. It's been swinging so far to the left and everyone a yes man that everyone's just going to go there because that's what fits in, that's the normal. And then what comes along is someone so far to the right, like Tate, and says some really hectic things, a lot of which a lot of people over here agree with, but they're too scared. And then because one person goes over there, then everyone's like, oh shit, I believe in that too. And the pendulum swing goes all the way back this way. And then that's why things like that go so viral, because people agree with it and it's against the norm. And I think with everything, that's on an extreme scale, but everything swings both ways. There's a positive and a negative in everything. There's a yes and a no to everything. And it's always going to go like that. Just depending on how far the pendulum swung is how far it'll swing back that way.
Do you think it's going to swing back and level out in the future? Because it already seems like it's becoming more like there's pushback on a lot of these topics that were kind of seen as taboo and wrapped around cancel culture.
100% will. And there'll be phases where it's more leveled out. And then because it's only swinging that much, it's only going to swing that much back.
Because I wanted to do a podcast when the whole transgender thing was happening, and they had an athlete that came to race downhill World Cups. It was transgender, and I wanted to talk to him about the racing and everything and how they felt about it. But I wanted to ask like hard questions, and I did some research on it, and I looked at other people that had done podcasts with transgender athletes, and the blowback and the kickback, and just no matter what they ask them, it's like you're attacking them, you're like you blah blah blah.
Curious.
It goes on. It's like you can't even. I think once you get to a point where you can't even ask questions, where it's like you get vilified for asking questions to a person that I feel like are very simple, logical questions, and got to that point. I didn't do the interview because I was like, I didn't want the blowback, and it's like comes to that point where you stop even questioning or being curious about things because you're so worried about getting cancelled or getting like pigeonholed into this like, nah, you're done kind of thing.
But having that authenticity and being game enough to speak your own opinion is where people start to like you, and you get rid of all the fluff, because I think like people who agree with you are going to form this level of connection because no one else had the balls to say it.
Because that's the thing, I didn't want to do it, and someone else do a podcast with her and then didn't ask any of the hard questions. And I was like,
I don't want to listen to that though.
Yeah. But then I didn't want to do it, and then people try and cancel me. And I'm sure my team probably would have been like, hey, like, we don't want that kind of heat right now. So I just was like, too hard, pulled away. But I'm wondering if it's going to get more acceptable to do those things, because you're already seeing like sport within swimming and stuff, and then like they're making different categories and they're not letting it happen as much. So I'm like, is there a pushback to go back to the way it was, and people not being so scared about being cancelled?
I reckon if you are going to do that, you need to know your shit, and you need to have stuff to substantiate your claims and your questions. Like, I don't think having this level of, I don't know anything about it, but I'm just going to ask you questions is a good way to go about it. I feel like the reason Tate goes so well on a long form is because he knows his shit, and he'll be able to back it up, and he'll be able to actually debate. And so if someone transgender, for example, and goes, like for me, it's like I wouldn't feel confident doing that right now, because I would want to be, like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about religion because I'm not religious and I'm not tried to be. It's like I'm not educated in that. And same with the transgender athletes. It's like me in my head right now, what's going is you can't have a man that's turned into a girl who, quite frankly, is a man, compete with girls in sport. And that's what I think straight away. But that's the depth that I have in that thing. I can't say, hey, do you know that male's testosterone is this level and your performance is going to be this, and an average male's spring when they're running is this in comparison to this? I don't know all that.
Yeah, but it's like,
I would want to know all that though.
Yeah, you want to know all
before
that
going into a meeting.
But then even like it's so funny just like debating something that seems at the grassroots of it all very quite simple. And I looked at, this is what stopped me from doing it as well, was there was a girl in track cycling, and she got second to a transgender man, and she came out and complained. She got vilified by everyone to the point she had to come out and do an apology about what she had said. And she just pretty much said it wasn't fair. She got second and she was a woman, and she got attacked by everyone. Well, everyone in that community of people. And I was
who's
like,
the loudest, not who's right.
yeah,
Sometimes
exactly.
it's
And I'm like, man, if a girl doesn't stand a chance in the actual sport and she got second, so she lost a gold medal in world champs and she was like upset about it. And then she got attacked for being upset about it.
As brutal as it sounds, I just think it's capitalism. It's a dog-eat-dog world. And, like, you've got to be able to be, like, in my eyes, like, you've got to be able to be able to stand on your feet regardless. But I think there's got to be an emphasis on being authentic and being you. Like, for me, it's harder for an athlete that's a woman that has devoted their whole life to it, and then they become second to that. But for me, I go, all right, that's all good. Like, that sport's rigged. I'm going to go and make all this money in business, and I'm going to live a happy life. But, like, it's harder when that's your whole life.
But yeah, when you dedicate yourself to a sport and someone gets an unfair advantage,
you have every right to feel like that's rigged, because it is.
But then imagine being attacked for feeling that way.
Yeah, well, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Openly feeling that way.
Yeah, and I think again, if you strip it back, you'll find that the most part, the people that actually matter are going to be understanding. All the rest of it is puppets, I think. I reckon you've got to be able to see both sides of stories. You can't be like just so one-sided on things and not understand the other.
Because, so where do you draw the line with that if people who are transgender want to compete in sport, but obviously it only ever happens that the one switch way, because there's clearly, if there wasn't an unfair advantage, you'd see a lot of males that turn female, vice versa, females turn male, competing and winning. It's very lopsided that it's happening the other way. So is that just like actually taking away from, it clearly is taking away from.
If you're choosing to do that though, I think you should be eliminated for the opportunity to compete in female sports. Because when you actually look at the biology of a person and you realise the performance, right, there's an imbalance there. It's not fair. I don't think it's fair.
That's what sport is about.
Exactly.
The whole point's been fair.
And so I think it's okay. Do whatever you want. Call yourself a fairy or a pony. I don't care. Or like you're some grass or a bench press. I don't care. But just understand that there's things that you're not going to be able to do and maintain fair. And sport's one of those things.
It was so funny as well because the whole, again, comes back to just because you don't want someone to compete in sport that is transgender in a female sport when they're male, doesn't mean you don't like transgender people. That doesn't mean you're against them doing anything like transitioning. And that's why I guess Jordan Peterson, he got attacked, is because they were trying to take away the free speech where you had to call them by their pronouns. Like that was going to become law. And he pushed back on the law. And then everyone's like, you're transphobic, you don't like transgender. I'm like, oh my God, you can't look deep enough. And I guess it comes back to the thing. It's like you say something and they just grab a hold of that and hate the whole image of what you're saying, not actually like the defining factor of like, no, in sports, the rest of the time, do what you want, be who you want. All that's completely fine with me. But when you're beating up a female girl in like an MMA fight, I don't know if you've seen that. There's like an MMA fight where a guy comes in and beats the shit out of a girl. And it's like, how is that okay?
It's not.
How are we allowing that? And you're going like, oh, you don't allow that? You're transphobic. And you're like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah, I think, and again, like, and it's so crazy because the only reason I'm not elaborating my thoughts is because I'm not as educated on it. And so I don't want to do that. But like for me, my belief, and this is why I think Peterson and all of these guys are still going to thrive. They're still going to be the best because they're staying true to themselves. But like when I look at it, I think when you actually look at how they're framing everything, the LGBTQ plus, right? Like they've merged all that into one. Yeah. When I just don't think it's all the same. L and B and G, lesbian, bi, and gay, that's okay. They are understanding that they're just they still recognize that they're a male or a female. They're just attracted to the other sex. I think all the rest, it's actually a bit of a mental illness, I think, because you're believing there's something in your mind that's signaling that you're different. That's my thoughts, and I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not diving into it too much. But I think what the media do and what everything does, they merge it all into one, and then it becomes this category of thing, which means it's acceptable, it's okay to do that stuff. But I don't think you can come out and say, I'm a girl when I'm a guy.
But then you're a kid, man, as well, when you're coming up with this stuff a lot of the time. They get puberty blockers. They get parents saying, oh, you can have surgeries, you do all this stuff. And there's so many cases where people come out after all this has happened and go, oh, my God, why the fuck did I do this? Or why did I go down this road? Like I don't know if I can't remember the documentary at the moment. I don't know if you guys can think of it. There was one about transgender and they had people come forward that had done it, that had transitioned, and they're like, it's the worst thing I've ever done. But they were just, at the time, they had people like reinforcing the fact that it was doing the right thing. And some people might do it and love it. That's the other thing. It's like you might do it and love it, but a lot of I guess what you see people they come forward resenting it and hating it because it's like this was something that I thought I needed to do, and then they do it and you can't reverse it. Especially when you see kids and stuff doing it. Like you shouldn't be able to do it as a child. Like if you're 13 or 14 and you go, oh, I want to be a boy. And you're like, man, you might want to be an astronaut. You might want to be all these other things when you're 10 years old. Doesn't mean that's what you should be, or should be forced into doing something that you can't reverse. You
know what's interesting as well? I think a big thing could come down to how they're being brought up as a kid. And if you have a little boy, and all you buy him, all his childhood is Barbie dolls, and that's all he gets to play with, right? He's now learning that that's what he loves. When he looks at it, he goes, okay, this is what I love. This is what I love to play with. Instead of trucks and tractors, it's Barbie dolls or ponytails that they can plait, right? Then when they go to school and they hang out with their friends, all the girls are plaiting ponytails and all the guys are doing trucks. He's been used to doing all of this, right? So then he's like, okay, I'm going to naturally gravitate to them. And then as he's developing as a person, he's agreeing and liking and really resonating with all the girls, not the guys. So then you question, am I a guy or a girl? So I think it might heavily come down to how you've been influenced as a kid, because when you're born, you don't know anything. So everything's all like learned and developed.
Yeah, well, the conditioning's massive, man. You're going to get to a point, and I think you'd hope most people go through this, but you get to a point where you're like, who am I? Like outside of the conditioning from your family members and from the people around you. Because like I grew up country, and you just think things are how they are because, well, my mum did it, my dad did it, my brother did it, my family did it, my like direct circle of people around me did it this way, so that's how it's done. And I don't know if you guys got to a point in your life when you went, oh, shit, you can do it a different way. And just because that's how everyone has done it doesn't mean that is the right way. And you kind of break the mold of the conditioning and go like, what do I actually want? And try new things and then see if that's it.
You know what's really scary though is, okay, so as you said there, okay, my mum did this, my dad did this. What has more influence now on kids growing up than their mum and their dad?
Social media.
Social
TikTok,
media.
Yeah.
So if the whole media is painting this picture that it's okay for a man to be a woman, then that's their influence. That's like their mum and dad teaching them how to kick a footy in the country. Like scary, right? Because
well, this all kind of comes back to your thing before about friendship, and it's like people just feel isolated and people want a community of people. And I think it's these people that don't have that many friends or don't have that many connections, and then they finally find a group of people that are I think that's the biggest thing, man, is like the connection you have with other people. And it's like you connect to people that are doing the same thing that you're doing. So it's like if there's more people that are joining this kind of movement of like transgender, they're like, oh, well, that's a community of people that are understanding and caring, and they're all like that. So it's like, are you attracted to the idea of like the transitioning, or do you just want to feel part of something?
But then you go back to as well this idea of, is it because of being impressionable? Looking at the stats of transgenderism and this whole community 50 years ago compared to now, people say the argument a lot of people will make is, well, a lot of the people were like that back then but didn't come out, like, you know, but didn't be more aware of it. But then the argument also goes, well, now that it's okay, why isn't there a bunch of like 50, 60, 70-year-old guys and girls coming out as, you know, homosexual and transgender and all this thing? So it shows that the conditioning is creating more of it. And whether you want to go down the conspiracy theory or not, but it's like, it's a great way to depopulate it ethically, kind of, a bit more so than, you know, offing people.
Also just like the biggest worry, and this is what Tate talks about all the time, is the biggest worry is young men and how they're being brought up. Because like when you start to take away a lot of the masculine aspects of a man, like it's going to be a lot harder for the world to go around in terms of like all of us being able to make our own decisions, and there's going to be a higher thing that's powering everyone because there's not enough man taking agency, having like taking control of their life and going through shit, building character. When you go out into nature and switch off for a little bit, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but when you go out and are removed from everything, you realize that life's pretty simple. Like, what we really need is food, shelter, and connection. That's it. Food, shelter, and connection. For our emotional well-being and happiness and health, I feel like that's it. Would you guys agree? Is there anything else that comes to mind?
No, I agree with that, but and then that comes back to the like, do you need something to strive towards though? Because that's what you're all like. Do you need a purpose?
I reckon that's where connection comes as well,
though. Like a purpose outside of being around other people. Like, do we need that, or is that just something that we want?
Well, I think that we're fueled by progression. I think when we're progressing in an area of our life, we're more inclined to be enjoying that thing. So yeah, I 100% agree, and I believe that that progression is so important, because when you're not progressing in your relationships area of your life, you don't really want to go on dates. You don't really want to, like, when you're not progressing. When you're not progressing your business, you don't want to go to work. And when you're plateauing in the gym, the last thing you want to do is go and do a bench press to something that you've hit the same weight for the last 2 months. And so we need progression for us to really get enjoyment out of the things that we're doing. So I think for fulfillment, that fulfillment piece of our life, I think having progression in certain areas of our life is important. Connection helps you when you strip out what connection is as well. A lot of the time you're bonding over similar things, and typically what those similar things are is the things that you're progressing in as well.
You brought that book in, Coops, the Lost Connections.
Oh, yes.
I was going to say, what did you get out of that kind of on that topic of connecting with people?
I read it a while ago. It's a great book, and I recommend I just recommend everyone read it, because it debunks a lot of stuff. Have you read it? I saw it on your bookshelf.
Yeah.
The way I saw it was it just sort of debunks a lot of the general consensus of what mental illness is, that it's this chemical imbalance, that we need to take SSRIs to change that, which has now all been proven wrong and shown that it barely beats a placebo 50% of the time. So it doesn't really work. And what this book goes on, Johan Hari, he's a journalist, he's not a psychologist. He goes and just like speaks to all different areas of what makes us feel good and what makes us feel bad. And one of the main topics is our connection with people. Like when we're not part of a tribe, that's where we feel lonely, where we feel all these negative emotions, and then we detach, and that's what makes us feel poor, not a chemical imbalance in our brain. It's that. I mean, I read the book a while ago. Can you comment on anything, what you thought of it?
I think, yeah, like you said, the placebo of just thinking you're doing something that's better for you will make you feel better. Like that alone will help. And it just talks about, because he obviously goes to different, like he goes to an Amish, what do you call it? Amish town. And he's in that, and he's like sees these people, and like they're so happy and they're so connected with each other, but they're so separate from the rest of the world. But then also in that, I remember him saying that like they treated women quite badly. But it's like he was looking at it as like, okay, you've got these really good bits and they've still got these really bad bits. So it's like you can be more connected within your tribe of people, but then you kind of cut off from the rest of the world. And like, is that better or worse? And the whole idea is like he goes around to different people and kind of interviews how they live. And it's just like the whole thing of none of them are kind of right or wrong. They're just different. But it's like each one of them shared the fact that they were all quite connected. And I think that's the big thing now, that we're not connected. Like we are connected. There's this, I think
we're more connected than we've ever been, but we're less connected than we've ever been. There's I think it's Fundamentals has this line. I really like it, but it goes, connected to everyone I've ever known, but never so alone. And it's like, you can see what I do pretty much most days, like you said, through Instagram, through YouTube, through whatever, through podcasts, but like you said, until someone comes up to you and goes, hey, you've pulled me back from the edge 6 times, you go, oh shit, like that's real. But like that's one person is out of like the 120 million views that you said you've gotten.
So
It's crazy. I feel like it was Jay Shetty that said this though, which was interesting. It was telling a story. Not sure if it was him or not, but I think it might have been. And it's about the fisherman in the small town.
yeah.
Did I tell you about this already? I'm not sure, but there's the fisherman in the small town. He's got a wife. He's got kids, and he catches enough fish for him and his family. And he catches these really rare fish. And there's this American businessman comes to this guy in the small town in Africa, wherever he was, and he said, "Man, like, you're catching these really rare fish. Like, you could get more boats, you could get more people catching the fish, you could sell them over in America, and you could make all of this money." And then the guy goes, "Okay, and then what?" And he's like, "Then you could make all this money, and you could sit by the fire, have marshmallows, drink some wine, and live the life that you've always wanted to live." And he's like, "Well, I already do that now."
Yeah.
And it's just that reminder of like why are you actually doing it, and like stripping back.
Yeah.
But I always strip it back and I go, yes, it's not the end goal, which is that thing. It's the pursuit and the characteristics that you earn along that journey that actually matter. It's like that, the pursuit of the goal. The goal is so important to have because the things that we learn on the way to that goal is what matters. It's funny though because I'm listening to a podcast at the moment, which is Jimmy Carr on Diary of a CEO, and it's a new one that just came out. And he was talking about a friend that had a baby, and he wanted to look after it was that whole concept around like when you're like, you don't want to hang out with your parents now because it's a bit of a hard thing to do and sometimes it's a bit draining. But then if they pass away, you do anything to just spend a day with them. And he heard that in this concept, and it was Jimmy Carr's friend or something, and he had his kid and wanted to grow up with his kid. He took 5 years off work, didn't do a single day of work for 5 years and just spent it with his kid. And his kid grew up, and then he went back. He's some massive guy. I forgot his name. It slipped my mind. But now his kid's grown up as well, and he's got this amazing connection with his son, and he's like, look, I could be more wealthy, I could have a way bigger business, I could have a way bigger personal brand, but I've got this connection with my son because I spent 5 years with him straight from the ages of like 10 to 15 or whatever it was, and like that's the thing that like really matters, and it was worth every day. It's an interesting concept of what actually matters in life. Like,
yeah, what are you sacrificing for?
And I guess that comes back to what are your values and what's your why. And if you don't understand what they are, you're probably going to get led down a path that you're not going to actually enjoy in the long run. Because you get so often it's like you create or you do something, but it's like, why are you actually doing it? Like, what's the end result? And like, if you see yourself there, I'm like, okay, was that actually worth doing? Because like I've got it now, but I don't feel fulfilled because like you don't know your why behind that. Like his why, obviously, to be with his kid, and the connection with his kid was bigger than making money. So I'm like, that's his top value, is connection, family, whatever else it may be. And money might have been like fifth on there. So it's like,
but maybe people's values are that, but it's masked with money because that's what the norm is, and it feels like that's what you have to do too.
That's what the definition of success societally is.
Yeah, but I want to type. This is really cool, and I want to tie it into the. We're not going back to the transgender topic, but what I wanted to say was there's this norm around. There's this a lot of weak people being built, very like, and a lot of people are growing up to become really weak men and humans, and the concept of people not understanding what a human actually is and what's normal for a human, and it's this quote that Hormozy said, and they basically. It was him and Chris Williamson, classic podcast. But anyway, it's this thing about this quote I wrote down. But basically, this thing just resonates so much because people seem to go through challenge and they think that there's something wrong, and they resort to medication. And this is what you're saying is like, oh, I'm feeling depressed. Let's take depression pills, antidepressants. And it's like, no, you're human. You're supposed to have days where you feel depressed. That's what makes the highs so high. And then Hormozy wrote this, which is so good. He said, it's normal to not know what you're doing. If you did, it wouldn't be called growth. High five your fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and carry on. Do you get tired, stressed, sad, angry, hungry, frustrated? Do you feel misunderstood? Great. You're human. You don't need medication.
And just start something, man. Like go into so many times people don't even try and start the thing that they want to do because of all this doubt of what it could become or what it could do. But I'm like, just starting that thing will probably give you some kind of dopamine hit because you've actually done something. Like you've taken the first step into doing that thing, and like see how you and your body reacts to that thing. Because it's like once you start doing something, okay, now I've got a little bit of momentum, and that could be something so small. Like we talk about, like when you started your podcast, you just had little mics, and you just kind of I had a GoPro and
I had one, and I held it between. I'd ask a question and then hold it to the guest.
Yeah, wow, but you got to start somewhere, and like that turns into something else and something more. But it's like that whole idea, I guess, of being uncomfortable at that first beginning thing, and being okay with sucking. Like everyone's so scared about being shit at something, but I'm like, could you imagine being good at something the first time you did it, no matter what that may be? Like I'm sure when you first started surfing, you weren't that good at surfing.
Exactly, and that's what I say to people now with like public speaking and my business. It's this idea of it took me 20 years to get to the upper echelon of surfing. Why am I expecting my podcast or my public speaking or my business skills to be the best of the best in 1 to 2 years? It's like, no. I'm looking at like a 20-year journey for anything is what it takes to get to like, you know, excellence of anything. So it's like once you put that, it lowers so much expectation and the feeling of you're not doing enough and you're not good enough once you can kind of adopt that mindset of like, oh, everyone started somewhere. Like this is like the best part. Like so many people miss enjoying the journey because they just want to get to that destination. It's like, no, learning and sucking is like the best part because you're getting these jumps of gains. Once you get to the top, the gains get smaller and smaller and smaller. And it actually becomes somewhat less enjoyable when you get to the very top. When you're on your way up, it's like you're getting these big jumps and learnings and unlocks and, you know, growth is a lot easier when you're starting than when you're at the top of something.
Well, I think you're looking at the peak, not the fall. Because it's like once you always hear this with people that become world champion or become something, it's like they've got something to lose now, not something to gain. So when you're chasing the carrot, you're like, oh, I'm going to get it. When you've got it, you're like, oh, I'm going to lose it. Anyway, but like you say, that like each jump you do, like the progression of how you become a better person, whether it's surfing or speaking or whatever it may be, like that's the juicy stuff. Like that's the fun stuff. Once you kind of like get to that point, like I think we talked about ages ago, where it's like if you want to become a better surfer, whether you want to get like a few points better on a score on a wave, or I want to get a few seconds faster on a bike, like that might take months. That could be 6 months to go a half a second quicker or a second quicker. Where when you're like getting into it, you might just do one better thing at the gym. Like, oh, I'm squatting at the gym now. I've just gotten 3 seconds quicker because it's such a big part of like training, but you might not have known how to do that. So yeah, it's enjoying the process for what it is and knowing that it's going to suck and it's going to be hard. Like,
but enjoy that process.
Yeah, because you look back at it.
Speaking of new things and sucking at it, have you guys played pickleball yet?
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. Have you played it?
It's so good.
It's so good. Let's go play pickleball soon. I played it. I'd had so much resistance, but I just never committed. Whatever. It's just another thing. Like, I can play tennis, right? I can play ping pong. It's so much fun. We should go play.
It's so fun. I want to quickly just say one more thing on that though. I like this concept of having, it's going to take this long, but I also hate it so much because I think that having that, it's going to take 10 years. I know I need to go through the shit for 10 years because everything great, it's going to take that long, can make people complacent. So I think making sure that your output remains at a high standard with no expectation that it's going to happen instantly. Because people just go, oh, it's going to take 10 years. I'm just going to do it at mediocre level. Yeah. Whereas especially nowadays with AI and different other things to really fast track your growth, it's not like the old days. It's different. And trying to treat growth like it was is very stupid of you.
But growth also, that's so dependent on your output or your input and your output, because it's funny when kids or parents be like, oh, how long would it take me to become like a downhill World Cup racer or whatever? I'm like, how long do you want it to take? It's like you can either ride your bike once a day for an hour or you could ride it for 6 hours. Like your progression is so determined on how much you actually want to put into that thing. So it's like when people ask like how long will it take, it's like, I don't know. How committed are you to it? How much? How bad do you want that thing? And I think that's the biggest determining factor. So it's like if someone says, oh, 10 years, I'm like, going off who? I'm like, okay, now you've seen someone it took 10 years. Just the fact that you've seen someone do what you're doing should mean that you should be quicker. Like even like the Hormozy thing where he's like looking at Warren Buffett. He's like, yeah, the thing though is Warren Buffett didn't have Warren Buffett. I have Warren Buffett to learn off, so I should do it quicker because I can learn from his mistakes. So just look at the people that have done what you're doing and then go, okay, well, I know what you did wrong and did right. So I should, in theory, be able to do it twice as quick anyway because I already know all the flaws and the mistakes and the positives and the negatives. So yeah, like learning off other people. Yeah.
It's like the 3-minute mile is what was it? What was the
3 hour
4-minute mile?
Oh, 4-minute mile.
They didn't think anyone could ever break it, and then someone did, and then like that same year, like 50 people did or something.
It's that whole belief. There's that analogy of they draw a circle around an ant. You seen that one? They draw a circle around an ant, and the ant won't go over the line. And it'll just keep, when it hits the line, it'll turn around and it'll keep staying in this circle.
Until it dies.
And basically, they keep making the circle smaller and smaller and smaller. And then one time, the ant he steps his foot over the line. But now he has the belief that he can actually go over that line, and you can never trap the ant ever again. And it's that thing of once you believe and you've seen that it's possible, you're going to be able to achieve it a lot more. So when you see someone achieve something so quick, it's like when I started blowing up on social media, every one of my friends started posting content because they had the belief that it was possible. It wasn't a fantasy that you can have followers online. And so all of a sudden everyone's like, oh shit, what can I post? Because they believe that it's possible. They saw someone that's just an average Joe get some results in something they didn't believe was possible.
And it's such a powerful mindset to be a person that does like a world first or goes out and steps out and does
pioneer that.
Yeah, like maverick, and just they go for it. Because I was talking to our friend, we got a friend Tom, who did a triple backflip on a wakeboard, and it's like, how do you have that belief? And he's like, I don't know, I just believed I could do it. I was like, you would never do something if you don't believe you can do it. Like, it's very hard to fluke into a world first or fluke into like a win of some sort. But it's like, I guess you cultivate the belief you can do it through reps over reps over reps, and then it like gets to a point where you're like, oh, like, because I know personally in myself, when I was competing in racing, the belief in myself would be you can't quantify what belief does. Like it makes you go harder, it makes you feel stronger, it makes you a better person, because it's that little 5% that you didn't even know you had. And it's such a different thing to like, I want to do well, or I believe I can do well. And it's like, those two are so similar, but also so different at the same time.
That was a big thing I went into quite a bit with this mindset coach, Emma Murray, at my retreat last week, is this idea that so many athletes get in their own way with like their self-belief, self-limiting beliefs, like, oh, whenever I'm in these conditions, I'm shitting them. It's like, well, no, you've just had like one bad experience in it, and then you just continually tell yourself that story. And it happens with all of our self-beliefs. All of us have so many self-limiting beliefs, and there's this incredible author, her Instagram's The Holistic Psychologist. Her name's Dr. Nicole LePera. She's from over in America. And I read her book, and it was fascinating because I feel like one of the first things you kind of learn once maybe you become a bit more self-aware, which I feel like all three of us, are quite a bit, and a lot of our friends, pretty early thing you learn is like you're not your thoughts. Like once you can start to step away from your thoughts and challenge them and go, well, this thought's unhelpful, it's untrue, you can start to shift it quite a bit. But then she goes on to talk about you are not your self-beliefs. They've come from somewhere. They can also be unwritten from where they've come from. And I was like, it's so true. We all like tell ourselves these stories that we say are true, but we can always change them. We can always change our self-beliefs if we become aware of them and become aware that these self-beliefs generally lead to our thoughts, and then our thoughts lead to our feelings and our physiology, and then that leads to our actions, and we just get stuck on this loop that we do something we're not proud of, and then we start telling ourselves we're an idiot, and then we feel average, and then we go do something else we're not proud of. Once we can first notice and change our self-beliefs a bit, but then most importantly catch our thoughts when we're doing that criticism thought that we were talking about way at the start, and turn it to a critiquing thought. It's just these subtle changes where we can start seeing progress rather than a perpetual loop of, I'm a piece of shit, now I feel average, now I'm going to go show up to a room with my shoulders down, not looking at anyone in the eyes, and then I'm going to leave that and feel like a piece of shit because that's how I, showed up. So once we can start to like catch that loop and go, okay, these thoughts keep coming up. Are they true? Like, is this self-belief of me being lazy true, or can I change it? Maybe I'm not lazy. Maybe I just wasn't prepared before I went to bed. So then when the alarm went off, I felt like, oh, far out. I don't want to go run today. Or I went to bed a bit later than I thought. Like, it's just our actions lead back to our thoughts. So the earlier we can catch them, the more that we can start to change them, which then change our feelings and change our physiology, which then change our next action, and the loop starts to become more positive. So just going off that self-belief idea of like can add so much to a performance when it's positive self-belief. I think the counter of the negative of negative self-belief and negative self-talk can have like just as much of an improvement once we can catch that.
Once you see it, being self-aware enough to see it.
Yeah. Have you got any quotes that...
I just butchered the last one I tried to do.
Yeah, I know you have a good list of quotes. I like talking about quotes because you can like elaborate them. We can all interpret them in different ways. What I think is also really cool, I just had this realization while you were just talking, Coops. I was like just looking down and listening, and I was just listening to you talk, and it reminded me of if I'm listening to a podcast. But what's so cool is I'm listening to a podcast, but then when I have a thought about what they're saying, I can chime in.
Yeah,
which is a really weird feeling I just had. It was like imagine being a listener of this podcast, and then when you had a thought where you wanted to chime into this chat, you could. That's basically what I'm doing.
Well, that's what we're doing, and that's what I feel like when me and Dean were like kind of having a chat about doing this. I was just like, I've never got to do something like this where it's just like a chat with, all of us obviously can talk. We have our own podcast. We have opinions on things. We have quite a breadth of knowledge between all of our experiences in life. So coming together has been, fun to just sort of like
it doesn't feel
riff.
so forced to like come up with a question.
Well, it's not
or
an interview.
Answer.
Not that our conversations in our podcast are interviews. I feel like we all have, learnt the art of podcasting, that it isn't a question and interview. Like we didn't come in here with we came in here with nothing. We just started talking and saw where it went, which it's fun.
So good. I love this shit.
Do you want me to try and see if I've got a quote?
I reckon you got one.
I think we went through a lot of them the other day when we were...
Well, you were talking about belief before, and the one that you said on my podcast, which was the one about the guy who climbed Everest. I asked him why he climbed Sir Edmund Hill.
Because I could.
Because it's there.
Because it's there. Yeah,
that's so good.
One. Yeah, I know that was always a powerful thing. I want to talk actually before I got this thing. Do you guys visualize much stuff? And if you guys, because when I did that podcast with Taylor Cecil, it was this thing that trips me out was he talks about this visualization he had when he was running triathlons and how he just fully visualized this thing and then it just came to life. And he was like, holy shit, this happened. Like I manifested this moment and visualized it and I got so much power from it. And he ended up going to the race and he won the race. And after he finished telling me this story, I said, did you feel more emotion in when you visualized that 3 weeks prior to the event or when you actually won the event? And he's like, 3 weeks prior. And I was like, why is that? And he's like, because I was witnessing something that I'd already experienced. So it's like the power of how you can create something in your mind that's so powerful but this comes back to probably even like when you're sharing something on social media, like it's like you've experienced the thing. And I've done the same. Like I remember when I was driving in my car one day and I was visualizing getting a podium at a World Cup. And I remember being in my car driving, crying, man, because I'm like, I had just achieved this goal, like full tears coming out my eyes. I was in that moment. And then when it actually happened, I was like, oh, I've been here before. And it was like I'd lived it and I had to use that fuel to achieve it. But within taking fuel from that moment, it takes it away from when it actually happened. So I wonder if you guys have done something like that where you've visualized something and then it's happened and it's like the visualization you did was obviously more powerful than the actual experience of the thing happening.
I reckon that's expectation again though, because when you visualize it, you've got an expectation of the outcome. So then when it happens, you've already had this expectation of it. And so the gap between expectation and reality isn't as it's not like new to you.
Well, that's what I mean. You've experienced it.
Yeah.
It's like I've been here. It's like your second time being in a place, even though you'd never been there.
I can't think of something that comes to mind straight away.
I kind of watched The Secret and did a lot of visualizing and manifesting of every event that I ever competed in, and I never won one. So I have that big gap of expectation and reality. So I think I probably went into visualization as an athlete a lot different than I should have, like with so much expectation rather than just trying to get in the moment to create familiarity.
Larity or
familiarity.
I feel better now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gone on too long. We need some water.
Yeah. I used to post quotes all the time on the Good Human Factory, so I've got a few good ones. I think you'll like this one. Wisdom is a reward you get for a lifetime of listening when you'd have preferred to talk.
Yeah, well, that whole quote around listen, don't just wait to talk. When you said that, I've recited that so many times because it just hits me. It goes, wisdom, but I think wisdom's a really interesting thing because, you know, when people talk about wisdom, like you're wise beyond your years. You know that saying? When you meet someone young that's quite wise and they go, oh, you're wise beyond your years. Or an old man has a lot of wisdom. That's insinuating that age is tied to wisdom, which is just not true. And this is this whole concept around where does maturity come from? Like when you actually strip it back, like where does maturity come from? Because I've been battling with this, and this is why I want to write a book called You're Too Young or something, because the whole stigma of you're too young to be doing things is what stops most young people from doing things that older people typically do. And so when you strip it back, you actually go, okay, maturity comes from bearing responsibility. So when you bear responsibility, what happens? You gain experience in that thing when you bear responsibility because you do it and you gain experience. Through that experience, you become competent at that thing. You're now competent at doing that thing, whatever that thing is. And then when you become competent at that thing and you do it time and time and time again, you then become mature at that thing. You mature at that thing. So when you strip it back, the more shit you do at a younger age, the younger you're going to mature and you're going to become mature at that thing, whether that's relationships, whether that's business, whether that's health or fitness. So you strip it back and go, okay, when you're living at home at 30 and your mum still makes you dinner, you're not bearing any responsibility. So you're not maturing.
I love that goes so well off a quote that I came up with actually when I was doing mushrooms in Byron when I lived there, but I think we were on like a full like sober cleanse, did a full experience. It was really interesting, but going off that, this quote that I came up with, and it must be like I feel like a lot of my quotes are kind of like a few quotes pulled together, but just simply put, maturity is when you stop blaming. When you stop blaming other people, when you stop blaming your circumstances on things that, you know, it's like when you take exactly kind of what you were saying there is when you bear responsibility, kind of same thing. I think maturity is just when you stop blaming, you know, and then the people who get triggered by that and go, but that's blaming. That's,
I reckon
you know,
maturing is when you stop relying and taking ownership.
Yeah.
Because then when you take ownership on stuff is when you actually start to seek answers.
Exactly.
Now, answers is subjective.
And I'm sure we both know a lot of, like, I look at sometimes my parents, so many adults that I know that I'd see as far less mature in the way that we're talking about it now in this context of always finding an excuse, always having a reason why they didn't get the outcome they wanted, rather than going like, you know what, I can probably get a bit better and improve to be able to get the outcome that I want next time.
Yeah, you realize that excuses don't mean shit. Like, no one cares. No one cares about excuses.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I had a race and I got a flat tire and I was telling people, oh yeah, but I got a flat tire. It's like, no one gives a shit, man. There's no, you got a flat tire in the result sheet.
Did you win or lose?
I lost.
Yeah,
of course I lost.
exactly right.
But then it was funny, like the ego boost to tell people, oh yeah, it happened because of this. Where realistically, no, and I was this realization, I was like, no one cares that you got a flat tire. People just care that you weren't where you said you should be or where you expected where you should be. And that can mean in any circumstance, like, oh yeah, I lost my job because of this and that. I was like, so you lost your job. Yeah. It all comes back to that first thing. It doesn't, like, anything after that, people don't give a shit about.
I think it comes to taking ownership. Like, I think when you take ownership, you learn the most.
Yeah.
It's like when people break up, go through breakups. You tell, why'd you break up? Oh, she was this and that, and she was battling all of this and doing all these things, and she couldn't deal with my party, my DJ life or whatever it was. I remember that was one of the ones I got. And I just go, no, like, that is stripping away all of your opportunity to learn, because the breakup is now her fault. Whereas if you take it all on, my fault, take the blame, you seek answers. And through those answers, you make improvements. It might have been her fault. But if you don't take the ownership, then you're not going to grow, and you're probably going to come across the same problem.
You put yourself in the same situation
again. Even the book I brought is like The Way of a Superior Man. about understanding that like things that you can do is going to play with the subconscious of a girl as well. And that means it is your fault. But when you ask them why they're breaking up with you, they don't actually know why. They've just fallen out of attraction to you. But the reality is you stopped doing things that were attracting her in the first place, and she had to onboard more masculine things, and now she doesn't see you as a man. She lost attraction or whatever. That's an example, right? But it's like starts with taking ownership on seeking the answers yourself.
Well, there's so much beauty in the idea because you heard the thing where it's like, I'd rather a harsh truth than a nice lie.
I haven't heard that before, but I like it.
So that's the concept about how we're talking. It's like it's better off to be harsh, but with the truth. Because it's like, you know, when you get to that point in a relationship where you're like, well, this is done. And it's like almost at that point, then all the truth comes out. Because you're like, well, this is over. We're not getting back together. This is done. So I don't give a shit anymore. You did this, you did that, you did that. And it's like, some of it may be true, some of it might not be true. But it's taken you to the point where it's like, well, I don't see any. It's like you were nice enough not to bring it up because you didn't want to hurt their feelings and you want to be with them.